feel like this was up here just so I can make a fool of myself, because we all saw it. So now you all see why I was struggling earlier. This is great. Thank you, funny boy Nate Jackson. That was funny. I was laughing. I loved that endo. These entrances and exits these are so innovative talent. And that's what the jump rope king Nat Jackson attracts. Because he is an innovative talent, I would say. Wouldn't you agree? You know? In his own lane, doing his own thing. If there's nothing else that the jump rope king has taught me, he has taught me that it is never too late. It's never too late. It's never too late. You can break a record whenever you figure out what it is you want to break a record and do it. You can be like, I'm trying to jump rope and be the fastest one over this age and do it. So I don't know what kind of record I can break. I'm going to come up with something. I'm gonna break something. Some kind of record. Miss Kathy, I don't know, where's Miss Kathy at? I'm gonna come up with something. I gotta break a record. I don't know what I can do. I'm looking around like, who could, fastest fake plant hole or something. I'll come up with something. Up next, you guys, we're gonna have Mr. Nat and Mrs. Thelma, Dr. Thelma Jackson come up, and we're going to have an award ceremony. We have some awards to give out today. So, are you guys sitting down here, or are you guys? Okay, it'll be right here. So I'm just going to pass the mic on down.
Thank you very much. One of the reasons we selected the award ceremony here is because there are some things you ought to know. We have some recognized heroes in this community and heroines. And two of them are my very good friends that I've known for many, many years, and they're right here at this table. And both of them just received doctorate degrees, honorary doctorate degrees from St. Martin University. And that's Barbara and Virgil Clarkson. This is Virgil. Now, Virgil has been mayor, 5 or 6 times? He did 2 times. 2 times in the city of Lacey. And he did a wonderful job every time around. There are some things that we don't know about some giants in this community. People who have been pioneers. People who were toiling in the vineyard long before we knew they were there. They were paving the way for us, you and I, in this community. And we have an award for those people and what they accomplished. 2 are posthumously, and 1 is live here with us. And I'm going to start with my wife, Dr. Jackson. And, she wants me to do it. And I'm going to call up Dennis Adams. Dennis Adams. Now there is, these are unsung heroes. Unsung Hero Champion Awards. What do I mean by that? Unsung means that we don't know about them. champions mean they knew how to stand alone for what was right. What that means is that they were like salmon going upstream and other fish were going down. They were like lone leaders where the majority was doing one thing which was totally wrong and inappropriate, but they were doing what was right. One of those individuals was Virgil Adams. Now, I went to Virgil's service some years ago, but let me just tell you that most people have no idea that Virgil was a giant. He built 30 subdivisions in this area, all over. Giant of a realtor, giant of a developer. He built Hollywood. He built Foxhall, and many, many more. But before he passed away, he and his son ventured out to build one of the most famous ones here in our community. And that's McAllister Park. Anybody heard of McAllister Park? Raise your hand. Okay, beautiful subdivision. Unfortunately, Virgil passed away before that came into fruition. And Dennis finished that subdivision. You know, Dennis said something to me that really rang bells about Virgil. He said, my dad taught me to look over at that guy driving the Caterpillar, and that we're not any more important than that person. And when you think you are now headed over the cliff. We are all in this together. And so, Dennis, we are here together today to recognize something that this community doesn't know that Virgil did. And I believe it took so much heart. When no one in this area would rent to an African American, no one, no matter how wealthy, no matter how great, no matter how long they'd served and how gallantly they'd served in the United States Armed Forces, they couldn't rent a house here. And I want you to know that Virgil Adams was the only real estate company that would rent and sell to African Americans. And so for that, I want to present you this award. And can you read that for me, please?
Unsung Hero Champion Award, presented posthumously to Virgil Adams, Olympia Realtor, leader of fair housing in the 1960s. Nat Jackson and Jump for Life team, July 28, 2018.
Now you'll see why I give my hug when I see it.
There's another unsung hero that has to be finally recognized. This man had the will of steel and the heart of gold. Compassion, doing things for people. And I attended both Virgil and his service. And people are still stepping forward today to tell this family all of the wonderful things that this person, Alvin Thompson, did for them. So I'd like to have Al's family come up here with me, all of you, please. Thank you very much. Sandy, now Now, in case you didn't know, these are not all sisters. Okay? This is mother here, right here. Sandy Helton. Boy, oh boy, you can't say enough about Al Thompson. He arrived here on a train with 25 cents in his pocket and built the first entire planned community in the state of Washington. Not this area, the state of Washington. He built Tanglewild. He allocated 5 acres for a park. He allocated for a church. He built a shopping center with it, all before anybody in this state had ever done that. And it did not stop there. He made countless philanthropic contributions. And importantly, he contributed to people who were trying to find their way. And he was that helping hand that just reached out in the night and shined the light. And he did that not once, not twice, but hundreds of times. And I remember he loved hunting. He'd go down south and hunt with his, Wyoming, hunt with his sons. And he'd go up salmon fishing. And I always got canned salmon when he came back. He insisted that I have some of his canned salmon. So I used to root for him when he got ready to go on that trip because I was going to get some fresh salmon. So let me say, Al Thompson in this area was the absolute only realtor with a sense of fair housing who would rent to African Americans and sell to African Americans. It so happened that in 1970, I was one of those people. He not only rented and sold to me, we were renting at that time, but he did it with open arms. And so for that, I want to present this award to you, Sandy, on behalf of your father and your grandfather. And I'm going to ask my wife to read this one again, please. I left my glasses home to do it.
Another Unsung Hero Champion Award presented posthumously to Alvin Thompson, Lacey developer, leader of fair housing in the 1960s. Nat Jackson and Jump for Life team, July 28, 2018.
You got to say a few words.
Well, this is very moving and very appreciated. And my dad enjoyed his friendship with you very much. He always brightened up when he saw you coming into the office and stuff. And I just can't tell you what this means to us. We all appreciate it, and I'll share it with the rest of the family. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So finally, we have one more.
The first two were posthumous, which means they are no longer with us. But we have this third pioneer who is here with us, Mary J. Wilson. As she comes forward, let me say a few things about Miss Mary, as we call her. She was a community activist and advocate in those early 1960s that we were talking about, when housing was such a challenging issue for black folk as they moved into this Thurston County area, and particularly this Lacey area. She's originally from Philadelphia. She and her husband, retired Lieutenant Colonel James from the United States Army, came together to Olympia in 1957 from military service in Chinon, France. Mrs. Wilson worked for the state of Washington in the State Employment Security Department and at Madigan Army Hospital until she retired for medical reasons in 1976. Mary and Jim worked tirelessly on the issue of fair housing, in that they themselves were met with open hostility and discrimination towards them when seeking housing for their family. They, along with others who you've heard about today, persevered, and open housing in Thurston County exists today because of their dedication and commitment to the cause. Mary enjoys traveling and participating in civic and community activities. She served in those earlier days as the state's co-chair for the Martin Luther King Holiday Commission, Thurston Mason County Comprehensive Health Planning Commission, the Lacey Planning Commission, and a board member of the Olympia YWCA. She is currently a member of the Matrons Club, and this year was honored for her 50 years of service and membership in the Links, a national Black women's organization dedicated to the improvement of the education of Black youth. Woo! Okay. Mary is the mother of one son, James R. Chip Wilson, and she has been so blessed and is able to be here in person today to accept her Unsung Heroine Award, which reads, let's see, I didn't cut in on him, did I?
Thank you. You know, I was talking to Mary about this, and I asked her what was it like when she came. And she went from realtor to realtor, trying to rent a house. And people were saying crazy things. One person who wasn't a realtor, it was a direct situation where they own rentals, said, well, look, tell you what, I do a lot of fishing, and if you give us that canoe, maybe we could rent to you. And that continued. And finally, a very good friend of hers, who just passed a few months ago, they were together in France in the armed forces, who was white, really took the lead. And when I last saw her, she came up to me and said, and I mentioned Mary Wilson, she said, you know, I went and rented Mary's first house, first apartment. And so this is the kind of support, all in this together. I wanted to tell that story. Mary came here back here in 1957, and she is the oldest living African American in our area at this time. And so we honor her. She is an incredible, incredible person.
And her award reads Unsung Heroine Champion Award, presented to Mary J. Wilson, advocate for fair housing in the 1960s. Nat Jackson and Jump for Life team, July 28, 2018. Congratulations, Mary, and it's an honor that you are getting this in person, in present, and we didn't have to bring this about posthumously for you sometime in the future. Congratulations. So at 93, here she stands, still independently living, still driving where she needs to go in that candy red Cadillac that says kiddo, watch out for it on the freeway. So we are so honored to be here, and she's joined by some family today, her cousin visiting here from Philadelphia, Gloria, and friends, another cousin, Annette, and supportive friends, Annette and Dorothy and Ann, and she just has an entourage that goes where she goes. So Mary, we are so delighted.
Thank you. I would like to say a couple of words. When we talk about open housing, my son isn't here, Chip Wilson. Some do know Chip. He worked hard because he went through school, you have to understand, by himself here in Lacey. And it wasn't easy, the name calling, etc., etc. However, he prevailed, and people do know who Chip Wilson is. And my husband worked hard, of course, and as did Virgil and all of them when we were doing the open housing. Of course, we were here far ahead of Virgil, but he made up for it when it got here. And we, in the meantime, simply worked to try to find places for our friends and people who were at the fort needing housing. And it was an ugly scene then. So I'm glad it has improved a bit. I say a bit because every day I see things, and we have to do better, folks. But thank you so much for your welcome.
All right.
Everyone, can we just give another round of applause for all the champion award recipients, please? Beautiful. It's great to hear about the pioneers of this area and the history of this area, especially for those of us who didn't grow up here and who aren't from here. Just to know some of the jump rope king Nat Jackson and Dr. Thelma Jackson's friends and people who have helped him get to where he is today. So we thank them. We thank the families and loved ones of those who received the awards on behalf of them. So thank you guys for being here. And thank you, Mr. Adams, for being here to receive the award for your father.